protection.
The Sci Fi Channel's Twilight Zone marathon continues in just a moment. We now return to the Twilight Zone marathon here on the Sci Fi Channel. We now return to the Twilight Zone marathon here on the Sci Fi Channel.
Twilight Zone Marathon with Jack Klugman, exclusively on the Sci Fi Channel, continues.
Hello and welcome back to the Twilight Zone Marathon here on the Sci Fi Channel. I'm Jack Klugman, and if you've just tuned in, you have great timing. Our next episode stars a handsome and gifted young stage actor named Jack Klugman. It was first telecast on May 20th, 1960. Back then, I didn't really know that much about the Twilight Zone. Well, I couldn't watch much television because I was appearing every night on Broadway in the see with Ethel Merman. But I sure knew what a great writer Rod Serling was. I had appeared in a Playhouse 90s drama that he'd written. Anyway, Serling had suggested me to produce a Buck Houghton. Buck called me. I told him I had some vacation time coming, from Gypsy. So I was hired for the lead. Only one thing. This episode was called A Passage for Trumpet. And the lead character, Joey Crown, is a down-and-out trumpet player. Only I didn't play the trumpet. Well, let me tell you, I worked on that part like I was researching King Lear. I got Buck to send me the music I'd be playing. Then I bought a second-hand horn, and I worked every day with a trumpet player from the Gypsy Pit Orchestra. Oh, I still sounded awful, but I got the fingering down for every note. I felt ready to fly out to Los Angeles for a week of filming with that terrific Twilight Zone production team. Right now, I hope you'll enjoy my very first Twilight Zone appearance. Our Sci Fi Channel Twilight Zone marathon continues with A Passage for Trumpet. The Sci Fi Channel's Twilight Zone marathon continues in just a moment. We'll return to more Twilight Zone marathon right after this. Welcome back to the Sci Fi Channel's Twilight Zone marathon. I'm Jack Klugman, and I hope you enjoyed watching my very first Twilight Zone appearance in A Passage for Trumpet. Another reason these Twilight Zones are still so great to watch is the care that went into production. We had a full day of rehearsal, and I mean thorough rehearsal. Then we had 3 days for shooting one half-hour show. The scenes were covered like it was a feature film. That was unusual back then and nearly unheard of today. And as you watch these Twilight Zone episodes, listen to the writing. Gee, actors like to change a line here and there, but on the Twilight Zone, not a word was changed without Rod Serling's approval. Now, that wasn't ego. It was caring. Rod Serling made dialogue come alive and sound the way people really speak. He used that gift to entertain us, but also to make us think. I considered him a writer in the tradition of one of my real heroes, the playwright Clifford Odets. I think you'll see what I mean in the next episode titled In Praise of Pip. I play Max Phillips, a lousy human being, but a wonderful role for an actor. A turn of events give Max a chance to make a courageous choice. What will Max decide? I'm not giving anything away by telling you that the real power isn't in the magic, it's in the characters and in Rod Serling's words. I'm delighted this episode is part of today's Twilight Zone marathon here on the Sci Fi Channel. I loved every minute of making it. I hope you'll enjoy In Praise of Pip. I'm Jack Klugman, and welcome back to this Twilight Zone marathon here on the Sci Fi Channel. We've just seen In Praise of Pip, one of the 4 Twilight Zones it was my pleasure to star in. Oh, I love so many things about that episode. I love the challenge of playing a man with no feelings except his love for his boy. I love the dialogue, powerful and emotional, but not sentimental. I remember shooting the whole of Mirrors scene at Pacific Ocean Park, trying to keep Max off balance between fantasy and reality, not anticipating where those mirrors were. As a result, I kept banging my head into those mirrors. One interesting side note, When I read the script, I remember being surprised to hear that Americans were dying in Vietnam. Now, I consider myself to be a fairly well-informed guy. Well, the telecast in the fall of 1963, that Twilight Zone episode was the first television drama to mention a Vietnam casualty. Our Twilight Zone marathon continues now, here on the Sci Fi channel. William Shatner's about to get in the kind of trouble that Rescue 911 can't help him with. He starts with Patricia Breslin in Nick of Time. And as you watch, check out the set, the props, and the dialogue. It's like a time capsule of 1960s in America. Enjoy. Welcome back. I hope our last episode made you think twice about calling those psychic hotlines. I hope you're still wide awake, because some of your favorite episodes are still ahead on our Twilight Zone marathon, featuring Roddy McDowell, Richard Basehart, Marty Landau, and up next, a good friend, Peter Falk. In the Twilight Zone, everyday objects often become magical. In our next episode, it's a mirror that contains the magic. A magic mirror in the middle of a very real setting, especially when the show is telecast. It was the height of the Cold War, 1 year to the month before the Cuban Missile Crisis. Peter Falk plays a bearded tyrant that closely resembles Fidel Castro. Fantasy and reality come together in the mirror as our Twilight Zone marathon continues here on the Sci Fi channel.